The May Rebellion in Brazil, also known as the Great Revolt, was a Muslim slave rebellion in Salvador, Bahia, January 1835. The uprising occurred on a Sunday during Ramadan when enslaved Africans, Muslims, and free men rose against the government. The Yoruba and Hausa Muslims organized the rebellion, but non-Muslims from various backgrounds also participated. Muslims in Brazil were called Male in Yoruba, which led to the uprising being named the May Rebellion. The rebellion was sparked by a combination of factors, including oppressive conditions faced by enslaved Africans in Brazil, as well as a desire for freedom and autonomy. The males were inspired by Islamic teachings that promoted resistance against oppression and injustice. They sought to overthrow the Brazilian government and establish Islamic State. The rebellion was scheduled to take place on January 25, 1835. Preparation meetings took place in various locations across Salvador. The Muslim leaders in uprising included Ahuna, Pacifico Lusitan, Luis Sani, Mano Calafat, and Esboa Dopoma. There were indications that one of the main reasons for the rebellion was to establish an Islamic nation and kill or enslave non-Muslims, including whites as well as other Afro-Brazilians who were of mixed race. On the evening of January 24, 1835, the rebels launched their attack in the city of Salvador, armed with machete, sword, and firearms. They sought to seize control of the city and inspire other enslaved Africans to join their cause. The rebels were able to initially gain control of certain neighborhoods in Salvador, but they were ultimately suppressed by the Brazilian military. There were also tensions between the enslaved population born in Africa and those born in Brazil. A day before the rebellion was supposed to start, enslaved people began to hear rumors of the upcoming revolution. A former slave, Sabina de Cruz, fought with her husband, Victoria Sule, and when he left, she went looking for him. She found him at a house meeting with other revolt organizers. They told her about the rebellion and said they would become masters of the land once the uprising started. After leaving the house, she told her friend and free woman named Bohamina about the planned rebellion. Bohamina then told her white neighbor Andre Pinto de Silveira, two of Pinto da Silveira's friends, Antonio de Guzman Guimarães and Francisco Antonio Mijares, who were present when Bohamina shared the information, then passed it on to the local authorities. Once the local authorities learned about the rebellion, revolt leaders were ambushed by military forces. When they were fired back, the uprising began. The rebels attempted to attack a prison that held Muslim leader Pacifico Lusitan to free him, but they failed. An estimated 600 enslaved Yoruba then took to the streets of Salvador. They attacked the military barrack that protected the city. However, due to their inferior weapons and their being outnumbered by Brazilian National Guard troops, Salvador police, and armed white civilians, they were defeated. It was estimated that during the day-long rebellion, 80 enslaved people and 7 National Guard troops were killed. Approximately 300 rebels were captured. Brazilian authorities sentenced 4 of the rebels to death, 16 to prison, 8 to forced labor, and 44 to flogging. Overall, more than 500 Muslim Africans, including most of the surviving rebels, were expelled from Brazil and returned to their African continent. Despite the rebellion's failure, many saw the May Rebellion in Brazil as a turning point of slavery. Beginning in the 1850s, the slave trade which brought Africans to Brazil was gradually ended. In 1871, a so-called free womb law declared all children born to enslaved women would be free. Slavery was officially and finally abolished in Brazil in 1888. The rebellion was brutally crushed by the government forces, and many of the rebels were captured, executed, or deported. The Brazilian government also cracked down on the practice of Islam among enslaved Africans, viewing it as a threat to their authority. The May Revolt had a lasting impact on the Brazilian society, leading to increased surveillance and repression of enslaved Africans and their religious practices. Overall, the May Rebellion in Brazil in 1835 was a significant moment of resistance and rebellion against the oppressive conditions faced by enslaved Africans. It highlighted the desire for freedom and autonomy among enslaved populations, as well as the role of religion in shaping resistance movements. The legacy of the May Revolt continues to be remembered and commemorated in Brazil today.